The day the judge leaned forward in that packed courtroom in Dane County, Wisconsin, the fluorescent lights humming overhead like a swarm of angry bees, he fixed his gaze on the giant digital screen and asked the question that stopped every heart in the room. "Mr. Thompson," he said, his voice gravelly from 50 years of courthouse coffee, "are you seriously telling this court that the entire Oakwood Meadows subdivision, including 3 homes, a playground, and a swimming pool, is sitting on land that has belonged to your family since 1892? The map on the screen exploded into color. A thick green line, certified by GPS satellites and iron pins driven into the earth by a licensed surveyor, sliced clean through the subdivision like a hot knife through butter. It carved off the corner of a backyard deck where folks grilled brats every 4th of July. It swallowed half the community playground where grandkids learned to swing. It even ran right under the deep end of the Miller's in-ground pool. Barbara Klein, HOA president for the last 12 years, the woman who had once marched across my pasture in her lavender polo shirt like she owned the horizon, went the color of skim milk. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. I stood there in my best Sunday shirt, sleeves rolled because it was July and the air conditioning was fighting a losing battle, and I pointed at the screen. "That's exactly what I'm saying, Your Honor. Barbara told me my barn was on their common area. Turns out their houses are on mine." A collective gasp rippled through the gallery. Someone in the back row actually dropped a water bottle. The clatter echoed like a gunshot. The judge removed his glasses, rubbed the bridge of his nose, and looked straight at Barbara. "Ma'am, you have 30 seconds to explain why I shouldn't hold you personally liable for every dime of damages in this room." She never got the 30 seconds. Because that moment, that single frame of time, was the end of a 2-year war that started the day I poured the first yard of concrete for a simple red barn on the last 5 acres of my family's farm. Let me take you back to the beginning, because this isn't just a story about property lines. It's about dreams, bullies and clipboards, midnight intruders, sprinkler ambushes, and the day an entire neighborhood learned that power without proof is just noise. My name is Jack Thompson. Emily and I are both 62, high school sweethearts who married in 1984 and spent 35 years raising kids and paying mortgages in Madison. When my dad passed in 2022, he left us the final piece of the old Thompson homestead, 5 acres of rolling pasture just west of town, bordered on the east by the pristine lawns of Oakwood Meadows. The subdivision had gone in 20 years earlier, all vinyl siding and identical lampposts, the kind of place where every garage door is the same shade of beige. Between our land and their perfection ran a tired wire fence my grandfather strung in the 1940s. It sagged like an old dog, held up by cedar posts gone silver with age. To me, it was history. To Barbara Klein, it was an eyesore that dared to exist next to her kingdom. Our plan was straightforward. Build a 40 by 60 pole barn, red with white trim, big enough for my welding rig, a woodworking bench, and maybe a small office where Emily could keep the books if we ever hired help. We did everything by the book. Emily wrestled the county's online portal for weeks, site plans, soil tests, drainage calculations. We paid the fees, passed the inspections, collected a folder of stamped approvals thick enough to use as a doorstop. The day the concrete trucks rolled in, I stood there in my boots watching the foundation take shape, and I felt something I hadn't felt since our youngest graduated college: pure, unfiltered possibility. The barn was going to be my retirement shop, the place where I'd finally build the things I'd only sketched on napkins for 40 years. The framing crew made quick work of it. By the end of week 2, the skeleton stood proud against the sky, rafters open to the heavens. That's when Barbara Klein made her grand entrance. She didn't drive up our gravel lane like a normal person. She parked her silver SUV at the edge of her perfect lawn and marched across the grass in shoes that had never seen a speck of dirt. Lavender polo tucked in, khaki pants pressed, clipboard clutched like a battle shield. My guys stopped hammering the moment they heard her voice cut across the site. "You will cease construction immediately." I was 20 feet up securing a roof truss. I looked down and thought, "Lord, give me strength." I climbed down slow, wiping sawdust on my jeans, trying to keep my blood pressure somewhere south of stroke territory. "Afternoon, ma'am. Jack Thompson. This is private property. How can I help you?" "I'm Barbara Klein, president of the Oakwood Meadows Homeowners Association." She said it like the title came with a crown. "This structure is being erected on HOA common area. I have a stop work order right here." She thrust a sheet of paper at me. Cheap copy paper, big red letters screaming stop work order, HOA logo in the corner. No county seal. No signature from any official with actual authority. It looked like something a middle school hall monitor printed during study hall. I handed it back without taking it. "That's real pretty stationery, Barbara, but the only stop work orders that count around here come from the county. And they already approved this build." Her eyes narrowed to slits. "Our developer plats clearly designate this strip as green space for resident enjoyment. You are in violation of covenants that predate your little hobby shed." Emily had been walking over with a cooler of water. She set it down, slipped her phone from her pocket, and angled it just right. Recording. She's been doing that since the kids were teenagers. Quiet, calm, lethal. Barbara didn't notice. She was too busy puffing up. "We have bylaws. We have legal counsel. This will not stand." Emily smiled the way she does when the grandkids try to negotiate bedtime. "Barbara, we're happy to review any legitimate documents. But right now you're standing on private property without invitation. We'd appreciate it if you'd head on back." Barbara's face went from pink to beet red. You have no idea who you're dealing with. The association has resources. She spun on her heel and marched off, muttering loud enough for the crew to hear. This is far from over. One of the younger carpenters whistled low. Welcome to the neighborhood, boss. I laughed it off, but that night Emily played the video back on the kitchen table. Barbara's voice crystal clear, every threat captured in high definition. Something cold settled in my stomach. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a woman who saw my dream and decided it offended her sense of order. We should have known the next shot would come dirty. 3 days later we were scheduled for the big material delivery, custom-milled cedar siding and galvanized steel roofing. Expensive stuff. Non-refundable deposits. The trucking company had a strict policy. If they couldn't access the site, they'd dump it the road or haul it back and charge us restocking plus redelivery. I was out at 7:30 with a thermos of coffee, watching the sunrise paint the barn skeleton gold. 8 o'clock came and went. 8:15. I called the driver. Yeah, Jack, I'm at the end of your road, but I can't get in. Some tow trucks parked sideways across the entrance like it's broke down. I jogged down the driveway. Sure enough, a greasy flatbed tow truck blocked the only way in. Behind it, Barbara's silver SUV sat on the shoulder, narrowing the gap even further. She leaned against her door, arms folded, sipping from a travel mug like she was waiting for a parade. Morning, Mr. Thompson. Car trouble, I'm afraid. The tow driver wouldn't meet my eyes. Just stared at his steering wheel like it held the secrets of the universe. My delivery driver pulled up behind me, already steaming. Jack, I got 15 minutes before I got a roll, or it's on you. That little stunt was going to cost us $1,180 in fees and push the roofers back a full week. I felt the anger rise hot and fast. Barbara, move the truck. Now. Can't. Mechanical failure. Terrible timing. Emily appeared beside me, phone up and recording openly this time. Barbara, we have you on video directing this driver to block access. That's tortious interference with a contract. Civil penalties. Punitive damages. I wonder how your HOA insurance feels about intentional sabotage. Barbara's smile flickered. The tow driver suddenly found his voice. Lady, I ain't losing my CDL over your neighborhood spat. He fired up the rig and pulled away. Barbara stood there, mouth open as the semi rumbled past. We got the materials unloaded, but the damage was done. Lost day, lost wages for the crew, rescheduling fees. That night, Emily ran the numbers. $1,180 out of pocket and a week behind. She looked up from her spreadsheet, eyes blazing. She's not going to stop, Jack. She's willing to bleed us dry one petty trick at a time. I stared out the window at the dark shape of my barn. Then we stopped playing nice. We document everything. And we get ready. That's when we went full fortress. Emily ordered military-grade night vision cameras and commercial sprinkler heads, the kind they use on golf courses. I spent a weekend trenching lines and hiding nozzles in the bushes. Emily wired motion sensors to her laptop. If anything bigger than a raccoon moved after dark, we'd know. And if it moved too close, it was getting a cold shower. For a week, the only excitement was a curious deer and a family of raccoons. We started to think maybe the threat of lawsuits had scared Barbara off. Then one night at 2:03 a.m., both our phones lit up like Christmas trees. Emily was already sitting up, laptop open. She pulled the feed. 2 figures in black hoodies and bright yellow construction vests, trying to look official, stood at the gate. One held bolt cutters big enough to take down a bank vault. My heart slammed against my ribs. I reached for the mag light by the bed, ready to charge out swinging. Emily grabbed my arm. Wait. Let them get comfortable. She clicked a button labeled Zone 1, Sprinklers. On the screen, 3 hidden heads erupted. High-pressure jets hit them dead center. The guy with the cutters took it full in the chest, staggered back, dropped the tool with a clang. His partner slipped in the sudden mud, went down hard. They flailed, cursed, slid, abandoned the cutters, and sprinted into the darkness soaked to the bone. I whispered, "Holy hell, Em." She just grinned, saved the file in triplicate, and went back to sleep like she'd swatted a mosquito. Morning came. We called the sheriff. Deputy Ramirez arrived, watched the video, and laughed so hard he had to wipe his eyes. That's the best thing I've seen all year. You folks got a future in home defense. He bagged the bolt cutters for evidence. No fingerprints, plates too muddy to read. But we knew who sent them. This wasn't kids. This was hired muscle. Barbara had graduated from paperwork to felony. A week later, Mother Nature handed her the perfect weapon. A thunderstorm roared through at 3 a.m., winds howling like freight trains. Lightning lit the sky white. When it passed, I walked the property at dawn. The barn stood solid, but a massive oak branch had snapped and taken out 50 feet of the old wire fence. What was left was a wide-open invitation. By 9 o'clock, Barbara fired off an email to every resident in Oakwood Meadows. Due to storm damage, a natural pathway has been created to our expanded green space. Residents are welcome to utilize this area for recreation, dog walking, and family activities. Enjoy. Within an hour, the parade began. Joggers, dog walkers, kids on bikes. A woman in yoga pants let her golden retriever run loose while she sipped a latte. I put up orange construction fencing and no trespassing signs every 10 feet. They treated them like suggestions. Then came Roger Caldwell, Barbara's loudest cheerleader, 6'3" and built like a refrigerator. He strolled through with 2 unleashed Rottweilers, let them dig craters in the fresh grass seed I'd just laid. Get your dogs and get off my land, Roger. He turned, smirking. Make me. Barbara says this is community property now. He stepped into my space, chest puffed. I stood my ground. This is private property until a judge says different. He shoved me hard, both hands to the chest. I stumbled back, boots sliding in the dirt. Every instinct screamed to deck him. But I saw Emily on the porch, phone steady. "I've got assault on video," she called. Calm as Sunday morning. "Sheriff's on the way." Roger's face drained of color. He whistled for his dogs and hightailed it back through the gap. Deputy Ramirez showed up 20 minutes later, watched the footage, and paid Roger a visit. He came back shaking his head. "He's claiming self-defense. Video says otherwise. He won't bother you again. But Jack, get that survey done. This is spiraling." We did. We hired Ellis & Associates, the best surveying firm in the state. Mr. Ellis himself came out, a wiry man in his 70s who'd been finding property corners since Nixon was president. He brought drones, GPS-based stations, and a metal detector older than I was. 2 weeks later he called. "Jack, you're going to want to sit down." The new plat showed our boundary 30 feet farther east than the old fence, right through the heart of Oakwood's common area. Playground, picnic tables, free backyards, part of a swimming pool, all on Thompson land. That same day, an anonymous email arrived from a Proton mail address. Barbara has known for 2 years. Developer fudged the sales maps to make the common area look bigger. She buried it to avoid lawsuits. Attached, board minutes where they voted to ignore it. The attachment was gold. Internal HOA meeting minutes, stamped and signed. Motion to table boundary discrepancy discussion indefinitely and seal records to avoid liability. Passed 5-0. They knew. They covered it up. Then they attacked us for building on land that was never theirs. Emily spent 3 days in her office with the drone footage, turning it into a masterpiece. A 60-second video that started with a sweeping aerial of the neighborhood, then drew the certified green line across the screen, cutting through swing sets and patios like a verdict from God. Barbara, sensing weakness, called a special town hall. Agenda: vote to fund $25,000 lawsuit against Jack Thompson and demand $5,000 for fence destruction. The community center was packed. Barbara stood at the podium in a navy blazer, voice dripping righteousness. "For too long we've allowed outsiders to trample our community standards. Tonight we take a stand." She gave me 5 minutes to explain myself. I took the mic, smiled, and said, "My wife has a short presentation." Emily plugged in her laptop. Slide 1, county-approved building permit. Slide 2, town harassment ordinance. Slide 3, Barbara's trespass email. Slide 4, Roger shoving me. Slide 5, the certified survey with the green line. The room went dead silent. Then someone in the back whispered, "That's my deck." Phones came out. Dozens of them. Barbara tried to bang the gavel. "This meeting is adjourned." Too late. She'd handed us the stage and the spotlight. She screamed, "I'll see you in court. That barn is coming down." Perfect. Court day arrived hotter than blue blazes. The courthouse smelled of lemon polish and old paper. Our lawyer, Tom Hargrove, wore a suit that cost more than my first truck and carried a briefcase full of receipts. Barbara's attorney went first, waving the old developer map like it was the 10 Commandments. He talked about historical use and community expectations. The judge looked bored. Tom stood up, calm as a summer morning. "Your Honor, this isn't about tradition. It's about title. And title doesn't care about feelings." He walked the judge through every document. Original 1892 deed. County permits. Survey plat. Whistleblower minutes. Then the piece de resistance, the interactive map. Tom zoomed in slow. Playground. Pool. Deck. Rose garden. Every encroachment highlighted in red. The judge removed his glasses. "M.S. Klein, you have perpetrated a fraud on this court and on your own residents. Your lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. The HOA will pay Mr. Thompson's legal fees, survey costs, and documented losses, $1, $180 for the delivery blockade, plus statutory damages for frivolous filing. I'm also issuing a permanent injunction. You and your board will have no contact with the Thompsons, ever." He turned to me. "Mr. Thompson, you are within your rights to demand removal of all encroachments." The 3 affected homeowners looked like they'd been hit by that same oak branch. I stood. "Your Honor, I'm not here to ruin families. I'll negotiate fair easements." Relief flooded their faces. The judge nodded, a flicker of respect in his eyes. Barbara was removed as president that night in an 87% no-confidence vote. The HOA dissolved within a month. She faced multiple lawsuits from residents for mismanagement and moved away under cover of darkness, house sold at a loss. We finished the barn. First thing I built inside was a shadow box frame. Inside it, the judge's injunction and the certified survey. It hangs by the door where every visitor sees it. Last month, I welded a new gate sign. Black steel, powder-coated, letters cut clean. The Thompsons. Measure twice. Trespass never. Every morning I fire up the coffee pot, walk out to that barn, and smile. The sprinklers are still there, just in case. But the only thing they water now is Emily's flower beds. We won. Not because we had more money or louder lawyers. We won because we kept receipts, stayed calm, and let the truth do the shouting. So tell me in the comments, have you ever faced a bully who thought rules didn't apply to them? Did you fight back? Did you walk away? Was it worth it? And bigger question, when someone in power abuses that power, is silence complicity, or is picking your battles wisdom? Drop your stories below. I read every single one. Let's talk about injustice, about standing up, and about what happens when ordinary people refuse to back down.